Once upon a time, there was a king who ruled over a kingdom. His goal was to ensure that food was always available in every corner of the kingdom. After that, he focused on the health and financial well-being of his people. The king had a trusted minister who was known for his wisdom. He was the one the king turned to for advice. Among the courtiers, there was a courtier. He was always making jokes. He was unmarried. His jokes knew no boundaries. And whether it was the royal servants, the common folk, or even the wise minister, no one was safe from his humorous remarks. One day, Robert came to the palace to meet the king for some official work. After that, he was walking through the garden when he saw a royal servant busy trimming the bushes. With a smile, Robert went to him.
"You are getting so close to those flowers. I think you want to marry them."
Robert joked and laughed loudly. The servant looked up, his face turning red with anger. He didn't like the joke, but he couldn't say anything. After all, Robert was a royal courtier. No one dared speak out against him. He clenched his teeth and kept working, hoping Robert would leave. But Robert enjoyed himself and walked away. The servant was left fuming with anger. One day, Robert was visiting a village for some work when he saw an old woman sitting outside her hut. She looked very sad. He went over to her and said,
"Why so serious, Grandma? Did the chickens forget how to lay eggs?"
The old woman laughed.
"Lifelong, my son."
One day, the minister and all the courtiers were in court. The king listened to cases and gave orders to the minister and courtiers accordingly. When the court ended, the minister sighed and prepared to head home. Just as he stepped outside, Robert laughed and said,
"Well, Minister, at least you are good at keeping a straight face."
The minister's expression darkened, but he didn't respond. Instead, he just nodded curtly and walked toward the house. His mood turned bad. When the minister reached home, Amelia brought 2 cups of tea, and they sat in the lawn. Handing him a cup, she noticed his bad mood and asked,
"Did the king say something?"
The minister sighed.
"No, it's Robert. He always jokes, and I don't like it. Today," he said, At least I'm good at keeping a straight face.
Amelia smiled.
You should complain to the king.
The minister shook his head.
He doesn't harm anyone. So it wouldn't be right.
One day, the king called some courtiers, including Robert, to the palace.
Go to the nearby village and bring me a report.
He ordered.
I heard they need a dispensary. Check what's required. Surgical kits, medicines, and anything else.
The courtiers reached there and gathered the people. Robert asked,
Do you have a dispensary here?
An old man shook his head.
No, we have to travel far for medicines.
A woman added,
Many sick people don't survive.
A farmer said,
Many suffer from fevers, infections, and stomach issues. We need medicines for these.
A mother said,
Children often get coughs, colds, and skin rashes. We need proper treatment.
A young man added,
Snake bites and wounds are common too. We need first aid supplies and surgical kits.
The courtiers noted everything and prepared a detailed report. After completing the report, the villagers served a delicious lunch, which included roasted chicken, chicken rice, macaroni and cheese, steamed vegetables, fresh salad, and apple pie for dessert. The courtiers sat down to eat. Robert glanced at a courtier and said,
You look like you have seen a ghost.
The courtier grumbled.
I will complain to the king.
Robert smiled and added,
Don't take it to heart.
Many courtiers were frustrated with Robert's constant jokes. One day, a group of courtiers came into the palace.
Robert's jokes are crossing the line.
One complained. Another added,
He doesn't take anything seriously.
The king listened carefully and said,
I will see.
They left. The next evening, the king called the minister to the palace. The minister arrived immediately and bowed. The king said,
Have a seat. I need to discuss something important.
After the minister sat, the king explained the courtiers' complaints about Robert's jokes. The minister smiled and replied,
The courtiers are right to complain. But Robert's jokes don't harm anyone.
The king nodded and waved his hand.
I think no action is needed.
They then began discussing official matters. One day, while the king was talking with the courtiers at court, Robert jokingly said,
"Your Majesty, if you need tips on looking serious, I can teach you. I have been practicing your frown. I have been practicing your frown."
The king's face turned red with anger. He shouted,
Arrest him! Throw him in prison! Behead him in a week!
The royal guards marched in, arresting Robert and dragging him away. The minister sighed and headed home. Amelia quickly made tea and handed it to him. Noticing his troubled expression,
What's wrong?
she asked.
Robert arrested.
He replied. Amelia shocked.
But why?
He joked with the king, and the king ordered his beheading.
The minister said. His voice was heavy. Amelia frowned.
Robert should have been more careful with his words.
Amelia added.
You should ask the king for forgiveness on Robert's behalf. Maybe he will show mercy.
The minister shook his head.
The king is furious. No one can speak to him.
Robert sat in prison, feeling regretful.
I should have spoken carefully to the king.
He thought.
Now, it's too late.
Suddenly, he had an idea.
The minister might help me.
He called to a guard.
Send a minister.
At the minister's home, the servant came in dining room and said,
Mr. Robert wants to meet you immediately.
The minister stood up and left for the prison. The minister arrived at the prison, and Robert pleaded.
Please forgive me for joking with you.
The minister spoke softly.
Forget it. Now, tell me why you called me.
Robert anxiously replied.
Please save my life.
The minister paused and said,
I will think of something. Give me some time.
With that, he left, deep in thought. That night, the minister thought deeply. And he had an idea. He met Robert and told his idea and said,
Do as I say.
On the day of his punishment, the king asked Robert about his wish. Robert said,
Your Majesty, I have 3 wishes. My first wish is to eat mangoes.
The king, puzzled, postponed Robert's death until mango season. When the season arrived, Robert savored the delicious mangoes. Afterward, the king asked about his second wish. Robert replied,
I wish to marry a beautiful girl and have a son.
The king ordered his men to find him a suitable bride. Robert married a beautiful girl, and a year later, they had a son. When the baby turned 1 month old, Robert, with his wife and child, appeared before the king at court. The king asked,
Now tell me your third wish.
Robert said,
Your Majesty, I wish for my son to grow young, so I can marry him to a beautiful girl.
The king, amused, burst out laughing. The courtiers and the minister joined in the laughter. The king finally said,
So, it seems the minister helped you. I understood now. I forgive you.
Moral: think carefully before you speak, as words can have serious consequences.